It's just a time of humbling yourself, getting quiet before the Lord, waiting on him, and believing and knowing that he can speak to your heart. Now, when he does speak to your heart, that's when it comes to a different situation. We're going to get to that here in a minute with Zechariah, because it still happened to him also. When he speaks to your heart and he gives you something to do, or he moves you a certain direction, I mean, you got a choice to make at that point. I mean, you could be seeking him all day long about, what do you want me to do in my life, Lord? Or is that the right guy I should marry, or the right girl I should marry? Or should I go to California this year? Do you want me to, I don't know, all those questions. But when he gives you an answer, that's when the struggle comes in. Because then you got a choice to make. Do you do it? You've been asking for it, but then all of a sudden, boom, he actually says something to you. Uh-oh. It's fun to ask, fun to seek the Lord's will. But when he actually says something to you, that's when this big, huge word pops up. Responsibility. And right then you become responsible. You've asked. He's given you a place. He's given you a moment. Now you're in a new place. Responsibility. To actually perform what he's asked you. To go with it. To do it. So anyway, we'll get there. But we're still on the lot here. So let's see. What else did I write down here? I put the lot, obey the Holy Spirit. He leads you in following Jesus. Okay, here. So this is some of the attacks that can come with hearing from the Holy Spirit or casting a lot, as Zechariah was doing here. You can say afterwards, this is some of the lies of the devil, and they'll come immediately. Nah, it was just a coincidence that happened. I don't know. I probably had those thoughts anyway. I was watching that earlier. That probably wasn't the Lord's voice in my head. It was a coincidence. Or, I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking wrong. Maybe I'm just deceiving myself. Like, I can hear from God. Those are the lies of the enemy. Jesus will speak to your heart. He's come in your life. He's come inside of you. He will speak to you. If you cast a lot with Zechariah, the rock fell out with his name on it. That means he gets to go into the temple. So, he could say, well, it's just a tradition. Just a religious ceremony. God doesn't move in those rocks, which one falls out. Those are lies of the enemy. There's a verse that I really like this verse. And I don't know, I didn't look up where it was at, but you can if you want. It says, he who made the ears, does he not hear? He who made the eyes, does he not see? He hears everything. Do you understand? He hears you. He hears your heart cries. He hears your thoughts. He hears your actual words when you actually pray. He sees where you are right now. He knows when you grab your coat. He knows when you stand up. He knows when you sit down. He sees you. Okay? So, he can do all things. He created the universe with a word, Let there be light, and boom, there was light. He can move a rock to fall out of a cement mixer, He can speak to your heart. He can give you such a strong thought in your mind. He can do that. That's not a mystery. That's that's reality. So it's this is the thing. And we listened to a song before we started this called "The Blessing," and we read. I don't know. We've been doing this study kind of out of Ephesians, also in Ephesians, we've been given every spiritual blessing in the heavenlies. These blessings sometimes are in the works that He's given you to do. As you are following Him, as you're walking with Him, you're going to come into a place where He's going to bless you. Okay? And in following Him gets you to that place where you're able to receive it. And so listening to His voice and following Him, you do receive blessings. But that's not the purpose of following Him. Following Him is because you love Him. You want to serve Him. You want to be a part of this take the world and give them the gospel, this will of God, that none should perish. You want to be a part of that. That's the purpose. But in that, God's purpose for you is blessing. And He wants to bless you. And so as you're following Him, as you're hearing His voice, as you're obeying Him when He says do this and do that, you're going to find blessing. You're going to find blessings from God Himself. And so we don't get to go and grab a blessing like on purpose. Like we don't go and storm the gates of heaven and reach in and grab these blessings that are sitting on shelves. That's not how you get a blessing. We don't do that in our own power. A blessing is something God gives you, and you receive it. Your part is to receive it. If I come over to your house and I say, "Hey, look, the Lord told me to come over, and He wants me to give you $100." I don't know why it's $100. I don't know why it's not 200. I don't know why it's 30, but it's $100. He wants me to give it to you. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people go, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's okay. Thanks. So it's really nice of you, but no. Keep your money. Give it to someone who needs it. And they don't receive the blessing. They reject it. Including myself. I'm sure I've rejected many blessings in my past. I mean, I'm not saying that in a degrading way or anything. But receiving a blessing is an action. It's an action. You have to physically go, okay, I'll take it. And I mean, it says, I think in Proverbs, it's better to give than to receive. It's hard to receive. It's a lot more fun to give. But receiving's awesome. The Lord loves you. He wants you to receive His gifts. He wants you to be blessed. I mean, you're His children. He loves you, So, okay, so let's go through this. You got the lot. Zechariah casts the lot. He's with his family. It's before a worship at the temple of God in Jerusalem, the big one. The lot falls to him. So he gets to go into the temple and burn incense. It's his privilege. Okay? So he does it. He goes in. So he goes, he doesn't reject how they sought the Lord in that time to figure out what to do. He doesn't reject that. He goes into the temple. Okay? Now, let's see here. In verse 7, it says, let's see. Here. 5 through 7, it really talks about Elizabeth and him. And remember, Elizabeth was barren. She didn't have any kids. Okay? And it says in verse 8, it says, "So it was that while he was serving as priest before God in the order of his division, according to the custom of the priesthood, his lot fell to burn incense, which he went into the temple of the Lord. And the whole multitude of the people was praying outside at the hour of incense." Okay, so you got all these people standing outside the temple, and they're praying. You know, they're pouring out their hearts to God. And you got Zechariah, and he goes into the temple. Okay, this is a big place. You know, it's inside the temple is not a place where people went very much. It was definitely a place for just priests. I mean, I don't know if you've ever gone into a big, huge building all by yourself, but even though it's the temple of God, it might have felt a little weird, you know? He might have been a little nervous, even though it's probably something he's done in the past. He might have been excited. I don't know, but you never know what was going on there. It's not written. But so he goes in, okay? And it says in verse 11, then, here it comes, an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. Imagine, you know, I mean, wow. I mean, it'd be like seeing a ghost, I would think, you know? It's not something you're not expecting to see an angel, even though it's the temple of God. You've been doing this your whole life. You're a part of this family of priests. But this time you go in, and boom, there's an angel there. I mean, and he was scared. It terrified him, you know? It's this is something, as you're following Jesus, as we walk with the Lord, there's some things that happen. We are confronted